Good morning, and welcome to our continuing series, Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today we begin a long series on the psychic being. Part 1. All answers are from the writings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. From Sri Aurobindo. Yes, the center of man's consciousness is in the heart, and there is the seat of the psychic being. It is the psychic being that sees the truth and turns everything into its fullness. That is what is wanted. The lotus in the heart should always remain open. The whole nature should remain under the control of the psychic being. Thus, a new birth can take place. But man is not aware of the self or Jivatman. He is aware only of his ego, or he is aware of the mental being which controls the life and the body. But more deeply, he becomes aware of his soul, or psychic being, as his true center, the Purusha in the heart. The psychic is the central being in the evolution. It proceeds from and represents the Jivatman, the eternal portion of the divine. The individual self is the central being, Jivatman, manifesting in the lower nature as the psychic being. It is directly a portion of the divine. The soul, representative of the central being, is a spark of the divine, supporting all individual existence in nature. The psychic being is a conscious form of that soul, growing in the evolution. When the inmost knowledge begins to come, we become aware of the psychic being within us, and it comes forward and leads the sadhana. We become aware also of the Jivatman, the individual self or spirit above the manifestation, of which the psychic is the representative here. The central being is that which is not born, does not evolve, but presides over all the individual manifestation. The psychic is its projection here, for the psychic being is in the evolution, and from within supports our whole evolution. It receives the essence of all experience, and by that develops the personality Godward. It is the central being above the evolution, always the same, that we call the Jivatma. The psychic being is the same in the evolution. It is the spark of the divine, there growing into its full divinity as a portion of the divine. The central being and the soul are both, in different ways, portions of the divine. They are, in fact, two aspects of the same entity, but one is unevolving above nature, the other evolves a psychic being in nature. The phrase central being in our yoga is usually applied to the portion of the divine in us which supports all the rest and survives through death and birth. This central being has two forms. Above, it is the Jivatman, our true being, of which we become aware when the higher self-knowledge comes. Below, it is the psychic being which stands behind mind, body, and life. The Jivatman is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. The psychic being stands behind the manifestation in life and supports it. The psychic being is a spiritual personality put forward by the soul in its evolution. Its growth marks the stage which the spiritual evolution of the individual has reached, and its immediate possibilities for the future. It stands behind the mental, the vital, the physical nature, grows by their experiences, carries the consciousness from life to life. It is the psychic person, Chaitya Purusha. At first, it is veiled by the mental, vital, and physical parts, limited by them in its self-expression, by their limitations, bound to the reactions of nature. But as it grows, it becomes capable of coming forward and dominating the mind, life, and body. In the ordinary man, it still depends on them for expression, and is not able to take them up and freely use them. The life of the being is animal and human, not divine. When the psychic being can by sadhana become dominant and freely use its instruments, then the impulse towards the divine becomes complete, and the transformation of mind, vital, and body, not merely their liberation, becomes possible. As the self or Atman is free and superior to birth and death, the experience of the Jivatman and its unity with the Supreme or Universal Self is sufficient to bring the sense of liberation. But for the transformation of the life and nature, the full awareness and awakening of our psychic being also is indispensable. The psychic being realizes at this stage its oneness with the true being, the self. But it does not disappear or change into it. It remains as its instrument for psychic and spiritual self-expression, a divine manifestation in nature. As for the psychic being, it enters into the evolution, enters into the body at birth, and goes out of it at death. But the Jivatman, as I know it, is unborn and eternal, although upholding the manifested personality from above. The psychic being can be described as the Jivatman entering into birth, if you like. But if the distinction is not made, then the nature of the Atman is blurred and a confusion arises. They, the psychic being and the divine presence in the heart, are quite different things. The psychic being is one's own individual soul being. It is not the divine, though it has come from the divine and develops towards the divine. It, the psychic, is constantly in contact with the immanent divine, the divine secret in the individual. It is the psychic that is in direct relation with the transcendent divine and leads the nature upwards towards the supreme. The psychic being is concealed in the depths behind the heart center. The psychic is the soul in evolution. The Atman is the self above the evolution. Namaste.